Hello, today we're gonna look at importing Jira features into Power Apps, Dataverse, Power PVM, or Project for the Web. So let's start out by just going to make.powerautomate.com and create a new Power Automate flow. Just gonna skip here and rename this to something like Jira import, a Jira integration, and let's create it to run on a schedule. And we're just going to choose this recurrence here and just set it to once a day, just for the testing purpose at least. So the first thing we're going to do is call an HTTP request. That is going to call a Jira endpoint. We'll just choose get here. And obviously we don't have the URL right now. But if we look down here, we can see we've got different authentication methods, and we're going to use username and password. And I'm going to show you how to generate a token in just a minute. So let's start out by going to this API endpoint. This is a search endpoint where you can see we filtered on features, and obviously this filtering, so obviously we gonna get a JSON response here, which is a lot of very nice JSONs, and in here you probably can guess that we have something like an ID, a key, a name, a summary of this particular feature that we have in Jira. Great, let's paste in the URL. We also need a table to import this data into, so we're just going to make a new table here called Jira Features. And we need a few columns here. Let's just start by renaming the name column to summary, because that is what it's called in Jira. And we also, let's make this optional. And we also need a key column in here. I'll just let it save. And the key, obviously, we're just going to use to identify whether we already imported a feature and it needs to be updated, or we need to create it in Dataverse. Obviously, you can create a lot of other fields here for the data that you want in, but let's just keep it simple for now and just import the summary. So now we need the URI, which is the one we got here from this search API that I showed before. And here you can see, and if we want to modify this filter, I found that this Power BI connector is really good. So if you install this Power BI connector in Atlassian Jira, there you can see here, you can create a new data source, and then you can go to this selected by JQL query, and you can basically generate your query here. So if I choose issue type equals story, then obviously it's going to show me all the stories. If I choose features, it's going to show me all the features, and you can generate your own query here as you would like to, and test them out, obviously. Great, we're not going to need this. We could need it if we need to do some Power BI reporting. But for now, let's just go back to, we need a token. So let's just go in and create an API token that we can use to authenticate against the search API. And you see I already created one here, but let's just create a new one just for the fun of it. Let's call this test token. The name is really not important here, it's only for your memory. And here you see you get this very nice API key that you need to copy. Notice that after you copied it, you'll not be able to retrieve it later. So please be sure to save it somewhere safe. Let's get the URL in here. And then obviously we need the username, the password, and the username is your email address that you use to create this keyword. And the password is the key value itself. Great, that looks good. Let's save it. And we can also test it. Looks good. Now we can see we got this nice response here. Let's just copy this response for later use. It's going to use it in just a minute to pass the response into a JSON object. And let's just check that we actually got what we expect in here. So we got the feature summary name in here. The next thing we're going to do is pass the JSON. So let's choose the body of the result from the Jira API, and let's use the value, and we can use this generate from sample, so we can use the sample response we got before to generate the scheme in here. Now all we need to do is obviously to see if this item already exists in Dataverse. This feature exists in Dataverse. Just gonna call the Jira features table here, and let's filter out so we only showing the item with the key, and you can see we get it for each loop around here. So right here we are just writing a filter saying that we only want the feature where the key is matching the key we got from Jira. And obviously we need the actual name here, so we're going to use the logical name to just filter it out. So just like that, let's rename it to something more meaningful. Check if feature already exists. And now we can make a condition saying, well, if we found any features in the Dataverse, then obviously it will already exist. So we can use this function called length, where we will choose the body of the response that we got. Sorry, the value, obviously. And we can say, well, whether this value is greater than 0, then we expect this to already exist in there. So we can say we want to update a Dataverse row. And if it doesn't exist, obviously we want to create a new row or add a new row. All right, looks good. We need a couple of values in here. Obviously, we will need the key. And we'll also need the summary to have some meaningful value in here. Oh yeah, sorry, that was the wrong value. We need the right one in here, which is obviously the response from the JSON object. And in the same way, we want to update a row here. And then obviously we need the row ID. So here we will need the response from the feature that already exists. It's gonna choose identifier in here, the Jira feature identifier. And then you can see it etching for each loop around here. So that is obviously gonna be an issue if it finds multiple results, but we won't expect to find multiple results, as there should only be one item with a key in here. So there's this way we can update it. Let's test it out. We got 27 seconds to go here. And just like that, the feature is imported into Dataverse. So let's go over to Dataverse, just take a look and see the data in here. So we can see now there's a new item called feature 1 in the summary, and it obviously also have a key. And let's just go into Jira, just see if we create a new feature in here. Just gonna create it in a different project. And obviously I actually don't have a feature value in here, so I'm just gonna create a new issue type called feature. It's get back to Power PBM, just call a new feature 2. And let's create another one called testing. And maybe make this task, because then we can see that they're actually not importing new tasks. Let's also create a bug and see that those should obviously be filtered out. And let's run it again. Oh yeah, actually, let's just modify the time for teams feature here to just give it a new name to see that the update is also working. Great, let's run it again. Just take a few seconds, and now we should see a few more features inside Dataverse. Great, looking good. We didn't get the bug or the task in here. We only got the features, and we also got the updated feature 1. So next we can of course keep on testing here, maybe add more fields to Jira to be imported. But what will probably be more interesting to do is to link this feature together with link this Dataverse table together with, for example, our projects in Power PBM or our projects in Project for the Web, so we can see the features that are belonging to that particular project. All right, we got a few more features in here. Let's run it again. And now we can see, hopefully we can see, there they are, a few new features created. It looks good. It looks like a stable flow. Obviously, it will need a little bit more testing. But for now, let's go into the Jira feature and just say we want to link this together with our projects. We're just going to create a new column here called project and give it a type of lookup and just link it into a project table that I have in here from Power PBM. Obviously, this could be any kind of other table in Project for the Web or similar, if that is what you have on your environment. And we also need to go into the projects table actually, because we want to the user be able to type in the Jira ID for the projects he wants to synchronize the task with or the features with. So let's get into the project table here, just create a new column. Actually, let's do it from the form. It's much easier. We need to add it to the form anyway. So here, yeah, let's create a new column. Just let it load. And we're gonna call this Jira ID. Or maybe Jira project ID or something like that. Great, Jira project ID. Let's save and publish this. And let's just copy the time for teams ID here into the Jira project ID. And obviously we need to run it to be able to insert it into the particular project. Still publishing. Give it a second. There it is. So let's start the Power Apps app. And in here, obviously, we can see all of our projects already created. Let's just take accelerated growth and put in our Jira project ID, which is TFT. And now that that is saved, obviously we should modify the flow to look up for this Jira project ID. So what we're going to do here is we're going to list rows in here. So let's list a row for the project ID. And obviously we should filter this for this particular project ID that we have. And we just need the name of the column, but newly created Jira project. That is. So we want to see CR saying something equals the project ID. The key. And actually we don't have the key here. So let's just look in our JSON response again to see what the ID was. So it's actually called key, but it's under project instead of under the main area of issues. So let's just get back to our Power Automate here, and if we search for project key, then we can see we got 3 keys. And obviously we don't know if the first, second, or third one. I guess that is the second one, as it is second in the order. If we try to insert it, we can probably hover them and then just see the name behind it, so we can see that this one is not the right one. This one is called project and this one is called just key. So right, let's remove the other 2. So we got project key here. Perfect, that's what we want. Great. All right, so let's just create a variable to keep the value of this ID when we look it up, so we can insert it later. Just gonna choose string, just leave it empty. We're gonna set the value for the project ID from our get projects. Perfect, and we get it for each loop here. That is fine. Obviously we want to look this up before our condition, so we can insert it in the add new row into the projects column here. Let's just drag it up here. Actually, we need it down here. There's no need to run it unless it is an insert. So now we can insert it here as a project ID. Let's create a new feature. Just see that the new integration update here works as expected. We got the project ID here. So actually if it is an update, as we already got a couple of features in here, we want to run it on an update as well. Just drag it out here and put in the project ID here as well. And we need to remember, of course, to write the logical name, like slash the logical name, and then in parentheses the project ID. Otherwise, Dataverse is not going to be able to understand, or we actually want to link it. We don't want to give the value of the project ID, we want to link it to the project ID. So let's run this Power Automate. And moment of truth. So gonna see in here in Jira features, let's just add in the project column. So we should start to see some of the projects being linked up here. Nothing yet. What did we miss? All right, there was an error. What does it say here? So what did we miss? Ah, yeah, all right. Yeah, it needs to be in plural. It needs to be projects. Even though the logical name is POM project, it needs to say POM projects when you try to link them together. Let's try again. Let's refresh here. Yeah, and we see the project starting coming in. Great. So now if we go into accelerated growth, we should see here on the Relators tab that we obviously got our Jira features, and we can see the Jira features in here. Now there's still a lot of work to be done around the views and maybe embedded here as a tab, so we don't have to go to the Related tab, but it looks good. Thank you for watching, and if you like the video, subscribe and hit the like button.